All three models of the PS5 will see a similar price hike.
PS5 Pro, meanwhile, will be $750.
Microsoft is increasing prices for its Xbox consoles.
Game prices just keep going up.
$80 games, as if it wasn't bad enough.
What the hell is even that?
Everything is going up in price. Game prices, accessories. Even as I was making this video, Microsoft announced another price hike. $800 for an Xbox is insane. Enter the PS2, the best-selling console ever. And there's lots of them out there that need some love. And while it may be older, the modding community is still very much alive. But where do you even start? Well, I'm gonna show you how easy it is to mod, load it up with the best games, and even show you what the future of the PS2 looks like. This is your everything guide to get up to speed on what exactly the PS2 modding scene looks like today, and I think you're gonna be really surprised at what's possible here. So, this journey started after I finished making my PS2 Mini Classic, where I made my own little 1440p PS2 emulation machine. But I did get a lot of comments of people being like, why not just go mod a real PS2? So, okay, here you go. We're modding a real PS2. Best part is, it's incredibly easy, and all PS2s can be jailbroken no matter how old or how new they are. Okay, so first I'm gonna give you some pointers on things that will make this experience a lot better. This is all optional, but if you're digging your old PS2 out of the attic, the world your PS2 knew doesn't really exist anymore. Back then, the idea of 2 screens on a handheld was like, whoa. Now, you'll need a little more help to make it work with modern stuff. Now, I tried out a lot of different accessories to see what would be the best, so you don't waste your money on something that you hate. Also, none of these products are sponsored, and no one gave me this stuff for free. I paid for all this with my own money. And man, these videos can get really expensive. So if you appreciate these types of videos, seriously, Patreon is the best way to support. I'm even posting a little extra video showing off how people used to mod the PS2s in the early days of modding with like a gift card. It's really, really neat stuff. So first off, display options. Now, most newer TVs don't have composite cable ports anymore, so I went through a bunch of different options to kind of show you the best for each one, from easiest all the way to the best picture quality. First up, for God's sake, stay away from the AV adapters, please. They're not really good, and I've never seen good picture quality come out of these things. Now, I understand, most of you are just gonna want a simple plug-and-play solution that at least doesn't look like you're playing through a microwave window. So for those people, may I recommend a PS2 to HDMI adapter. Now here's the thing, not all adapters for the PS2 are built the same. While most of them will be able to just play PS2 games just fine, some can't output PS1 games. I got this one from TITO and it's able to do both PS2 and PS1 just fine, so no worries there. Also, the latency is like really damn good on this. There's also this one from Electron Shepherd. They're about the same price, but I personally don't like having the cable just be hanging straight from the port. I don't know why. They both look about the same in my opinion. Now, is this gonna be the best possible quality you can get out of your PS2? Probably not, but the quality looks pretty good and it's simple to set up, so for most people, this will be more than enough. Now, moving up in complexity now, I've been really digging component cables. I got this one called HD Retrovision and hooked it up to a pretty nice HDMI scaler, and I could not be happier with the picture quality. But the downside is the crazy amount of cables everywhere for this setup. And good cables aren't cheap. So you don't want to cheap out since the cheaper ones usually aren't shielded. Lastly, on the premium side, there are some really cool and cheap HDMI mods like the Electron Analog that can get you the best direct HDMI output from your console. This does require soldering though, and you need to be able to form your own hole in your PS2 to accommodate it. So it's definitely a lot harder. And on the highest end, we have stuff like the Pixel FX HDMI kit. This is true direct HDMI output and taps into the PS2's GPU to get the cleanest possible image and upscaling for everything all the way up to 1440p. But man, even for experienced solderers, this stuff is hard and there's a lot of wires to keep track of. And if this isn't enough to detract you already, these things start at $189. That's almost the whole ass other PS2. But this is a high risk, high reward for sure. If you're not comfortable with this, there are plenty of other options here. As you can tell, there are lots of great options for the PS2 now. Okay, next, controllers. If you still have the original PS2 controllers, hold on to them. They're getting harder to find and the joysticks and the wires are starting to deteriorate 25 years in. These still feel really nice, honestly, but for most people, they're gonna want a better solution than being stuck with wired. That's okay, I found a couple options. I found this adapter from Brook that hooks up to your PS2 port, and you can pair like over 125 different controllers, and it works with PS2, PS1, and the PS Classic consoles. It also has pressure sensitivity for the buttons if you hook up a PS3 controller, since I know some people care about stuff like that. So I just plug it in, pair it, and yeah, here I am, playing everything with a PS5 controller. This is like 45 bucks though. So I found this one by 8BitDo for half the price that does almost the same thing. Okay, it doesn't support over 100 controllers. It only has support for these controllers. And you don't get pressure support. But honestly, there's a good chance you probably already own one of these controllers anyways. So like, if you want to save some money, I'd probably pick this one. Check the description. And if you want like a dedicated controller just for this, runner-up goes to the Retro Fighters Defender controller. It was designed from the ground up to be a next-gen PS2 controller and has support for the pressure button compatibility. Only thing is, downside is from what I hear is it doesn't feel great, like physically to hold. But if you want like a next-gen controller for your PS2, this is your best bet. So we got everything set up now on your modern TV. So how do we actually jailbreak this thing? Well, the best starting point for beginners is something called FreeMCBoot. It's basically the mod that lets you run all the fun hacky, moddy, tinkery stuff, and it looks very similar to the original PS2 dashboard. All fat PS2 models can run FreeMCBoot, and like 80% of slim models can too, but I'll talk more about that later. Now, FreeMCBoot doesn't actually live in your PS2. Some people run it off another device like a mod chip or an internal hard drive, but the most popular way that people get it running is through a memory card. This is where FreeMCBoot will live, and the best part is, if you unplug it, your PS2 just goes back to stock. It's really, really nice. So how do you get FreeMCBoot? Well, you can burn it onto a disk and transfer it using an existing memory card, using something like FreeDVDBoot. But honestly, these memory cards are so common now that you can kind of just go buy a preloaded one for like 15 bucks and you're good to go. They all use version 1.966, by the way, don't worry. Now there's a big range of these different types of cards too, from low-end cheapo no-name cards to cards that come from a specific company, to really high-end ones that have an OLED screen. It can hold multiple memory cards in one and have a USB-C port. These are great, but if you just want to get started, a simple $15 card will be just fine. Don't worry. I'll leave the one that I bought in the description. Okay, so when I first got this card, I actually couldn't find any installation guides or anything, so I was really freaking out. I didn't want to mess this up, obviously, since this is the first time I'm doing this. Turns out I was completely overcomplicating this. It's actually not that hard to do this. Let me show you how you actually install the jailbreak. So you plug it in, turn it on. Oh, look at that, it's jailbroken. That's it. That's all you had to do. There's no big process or anything. That's really it. Now, for almost all slim models and fat models, this is all you have to do. However, I'm gonna talk to the people who own slim specifically now. I have some special instructions for you. Ready? Okay, go get your PS2, flip it around. Now look for the model number. If it starts with 900 whatever, you have some extra steps. Oh man. So the 9000 series model was actually the last revision of the PS2 ever. And these models are running a BIOS that patched most of the easy hacks. Don't worry, it's okay. It's still really easy to mod, but you can't use a standard FreeMCBoot card. It won't work with your model. So there's another memory card exploit called Funtuna that basically does the same thing. You just access it a different way. You're gonna need a different memory card for this. I'll link it in the description. Some of the higher end fancy memory cards can also swap between memory cards on the fly, so one card can have all the different jailbreaks. So these 9000 series consoles have a couple extra steps. It's really easy though. When you plug in the memory card, you're not gonna see anything different. So all you have to do now is just go into the browser. You're gonna see your memory card there. And then you're gonna see nothing at all. And then you're gonna back out. And there you go, FreeMCBoot. Now you're on the same page as everyone else. And that's it, you're modded. This is such a different experience compared to how complicated PS2 modding in the 2000s used to be. A lot of things were a lot more complicated in the 2000s, like finding a good doctor. Like I remember doctor's appointments used to be just as complicated. You had to search around, dig into phone books, call and make an appointment, see if they take your insurance. But just like modding, now there's a way easier way to find a doctor. Our sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a completely free service that makes it super easy to find doctors near you that fit exactly what you need. You can search by location, specialties, what insurance you have, even see verified patient reviews that people left with the specialist. And when you find a doctor that you like, ZocDoc helps you book an appointment with them right then and there, usually within 72 hours of booking. It's super easy. No more making phone calls and being put on hold forever just to see if they might have a booking available for you. And it's not just one type of doctor either. They have over 100,000 providers with a bunch of different specialties, dentists, eye doctors, dermatologists, mental health, and a bunch more people you can actually see in person. Listen, you deserve to see a doctor that you're most comfortable with. So click the link in the description or scan the QR code right here on screen to find your next doctor today. And thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring the channel and helping us make videos like this. Okay, so we got FreeMCBoot set up and ready to go. So what can we do with it? So we're gonna want some apps to go with FreeMCBoot. A lot of the cards that you buy online will actually come preloaded with apps, funny enough, but here are some of the most common ones that you'll end up seeing. First up is going to be ULaunch Elf. You're going to be in this app a lot. It's the PS2's most popular file browser, so you can launch apps from here and copy paste files in between all the storage devices that you're going to be using. Here's a quick rundown of what all of these things mean, by the way. Pause if you want to read this. So for example, MC0 is a memory card slot 1, and MC1 is memory card slot 2. If you have an old memory card that you want to preserve its save files from, you can hook up a flash drive and copy them over, so your old cookies and cream save is preserved forever. Oh yeah, and this also works vice versa too. So if you want to use other people's save files downloaded from the internet or something, you can use a Windows app called PS2 Save Converter to, convert the save and then load it up to a flash drive. Then you have a usable file you can transfer over to your PS2's memory card. Just remember to use PSU paste, not regular paste. It's actually a really nice way to get access to an entire game really quickly. What, you didn't think I actually got $1.6 billion playing Underground 2, did you? Use them on an emulator or anything else that you want. It also doubles as an FTP client, so you can transfer files over the internet. There's Mechapone, which turns your PS2 into a development console, allowing you to basically make your PS2 region-free. When switching over, it even tells you some neat details about your PS2, like the color and the model name, and even the day it was born. Some people use this to play burned discs, but the benefit here, in my opinion, is being able to get an imported PS2 from Japan or something that has like a really nice color or is kept in a really nice condition, and then flashing with Mechapone so you can still play your US PS2 games. I think this is a way bigger deal considering that you used to have to mod ship your PS2 to be able to do this. HDL Game Installer lets you rip the physical disc games that you own and rip it directly to a hard drive or a flash drive using your PS2's disk tray. It's a really easy process to do. However, be warned, your PS2 is old, and lasers dying is a very common failure point of the console. I'm not saying it'll happen to you, but it'll definitely accelerate the process. Even still, I want a legal way to back up my copy of Pac-Man Worlds, damn it. Okay, so let's talk about the big topic that everyone's excited about, storage expansion. There's a few methods that let you store a bunch of PS2 games and play them right off the PS2, and now it's easier than ever, seriously. The original fat models had a compartment in the back of the PS2 that, surprise, surprise, wasn't for stashing weed. I know, crazy. It was actually for a hard drive slot. Back in the day, Sony sold a network adapter that would plug in here, since the fat models didn't ship with an Ethernet port since it wasn't as common back then. This is how people used to play online. But it also had a connector for a hard drive that some games that needed some extra storage would use. But now we can use this port to add our own hard drive to store our own games, and it's really simple to do. First, you're going to need a network adapter. The original OEM is the best option since it allows you to play online if you want to do that. But the downside is these things are old, and newer hard drives just aren't compatible with this port anymore. But good news, they make adapters that convert the IDE port into a SATA port, which is what all of the newer drives use. It's also incredibly easy to install. You just unplug like 2 cables and you're done. That's it. This one cost me like 12 bucks. I'll leave a link to the one that I used in the description. Now, there are aftermarket adapters that technically work, but I haven't seen a single one that actually has network capabilities. Oh my god, this one didn't even come with one. And they tend to fail a lot. If you can't find any network adapters near you, this works fine, but if you can, definitely go for an original Sony model. As for drives, nowadays you can use any hard drive you want. Some people pick up these fat 4 terabyte hard drives and just load up their PS2 with every game possibly known to man. But I decided to go with an SSD instead. I picked up this 2 terabyte SATA SSD from SanDisk just because I want my PS2 to run a bit quieter and a bit cooler. Oh right, and I also needed to 3D print an adapter for this thing to fit snug inside the slot. Now keep in mind, you will not see any speed differences with an SSD compared to a regular hard drive. This is just for noise and weight reduction. Remember, this is still a 25-year-old console. Before we're ready to slot it in, we need to still format it correctly on a computer. You can get these SATA to USB adapters pretty cheap on Amazon. I'll link this one in the description. It takes like 2 seconds to format it, and once you've done that, you can just start dragging in all your games. It's pretty easy, honestly. All right, now we're ready to load up our games. Now let me introduce you to Open PS2 Loader, or OPL for short. You're gonna hear this app be mentioned a lot in PS2 modding. This is where we can launch and manage our PS2 games that we put in our hard drive. Usually your games look like this, but if you want to have your cover art and all that, you can use an app like OPL Manager on Windows to automatically grab all the cover art and screenshots for your games so they look all nice and pretty on your PS2. Look at that. OPL also has its own themes that you can download. Some people have done some really cool stuff here, like custom backgrounds, DVD covers, and a lot more. And it has built-in cheat support too. Wait, no, hold on, this is important. I know a lot of people generally don't use cheats, but this is particularly cool because they serve another purpose on modded PS2s. Widescreen hacks. Since some games just didn't have widescreen support back in the day, it can make a really big difference, especially if you're playing on a newer TV. There's actually a pre-built package of cheats that will auto-apply to a game if it has a widescreen cheat for it. So you can just set it and forget it. I think it's really, really cool. I'll link in the description if you want to grab it. OPL also comes with a tool called GSM, or Graphics Synthesizer Mode. Basically, in addition to these widescreen patches, this will also let you choose your game's output resolution. It's not changing the render resolution, mind you, just scaling it to something more usable. This is great because I was dealing with an issue with my footage. Even though I was playing games at 60 frames, it was not recording at 60 frames. Turns out, most capture cards don't like interlaced footage for whatever reason. But with GSM, I could basically force 480p scaling on the games that I wanted, and it just resulted in a much cleaner look, and I was able to capture stuff at 60 FPS properly. Definitely experiment with it though. Not all games work, and some games get some really weird results. But really neat stuff for people like me who tend to care about this kind of stuff. Now, big warning here, there are like 40 different variations of this app, each of them with their own weird tweaks and fixes, so don't be surprised if you see multiple versions out there. They all mostly do the same thing. I'm personally using Grimdoomer's OPL, which has support for exFAT drives, meaning that you can use drives bigger than 1 terabyte now, and go up to stupid numbers too, so stick a 16 terabyte drive in there, it doesn't matter anymore. So that's the best way to really expand your storage on the PS2, but that's only on the fat model. The slim models obviously had the hard drive slot removed. So what kind of options are there for the PS2 Slim? Well, I never grew up with the PS2 Slim, so I can't really say. I'm not really experienced with the PS2 Slims at all. So I think it'd be better if I just brought in someone who's way more experienced with PS2 modding.
Hey everyone, Tito here. I run a channel called Macho Nacho Productions where I cover as many retro video game console mods as I can, some of which are for this guy right here, the PS2. Now, like Jeff mentioned, the slim model PS2 doesn't have an expansion bay. Sony actually removed them as a cost-cutting measure to make the console more affordable later in its life. But that doesn't mean we don't have options when it comes to loading games. In fact, we have quite a few, ranging from plug-and-play solutions to more advanced methods that require intricate micro-soldering. So let's start with the easiest option, and one you may already have lying around the house, a USB thumb drive. You can simply store your games on one of these and launch them through OPL. However, there is one major drawback. The PS2 only supports USB 1.1, which has a very low data throughput. This can cause issues like skipping FMVs, longer load times, and general compatibility issues with some games. So while it is the easiest and most convenient method, we can definitely do better. The next option would be something like the MX4 SIO, also referred to sometimes as the MC2 SIO. This is essentially a special memory card that lets you use a micro SD card to store your games. It's pretty wild that you can actually load games through the memory card slot. The downside is you'll need to buy one of these special memory cards. But the good news is that it offers better bandwidth than the USB ports, so you'll see improved game compatibility with fewer issues like stuttering video playback. There's also a DIY method to achieve the same results as the MX4 SIO by using a simple micro SD card adapter. With a little soldering from the adapter to specific pins on the memory card slot, you can make this work. It's a fantastic option if you want to keep the memory card slot free and have a more stealthy way of storing your games. Now, more recently, there is this device called the MemCard Pro 2 from 8-Bit Mods. This is an advanced smart memory card that basically allows you to store an infinite amount of your save files, as well as do things like back your saves up to the cloud, amongst many other things. Recently, they also added a feature that allows you to store games on its SD card and again load them through OPL. It's honestly one of my favorite options, and it should definitely be on your radar. Now, a cool feature of the PS2 Slim is that Sony decided to integrate network capabilities directly into the system. This means you can hook it up to your home network, set up an SMB share, and access games stored on your PC or a NAS device. This requires entering your network settings within OPL, but it's a really slick option and honestly super cool. This method actually has better throughput than the USB ports, the memory card slot, and even the stock DVD drive. And all you need is an Ethernet cable. But it does require some networking know-how to set up, which can be a bit much for some people. And finally, the best option in terms of speed and compatibility is also the most difficult. On certain PS2 Slim models, Sony actually left all the hardware needed to support an IDE hard drive on the motherboard. Modders created kits that tap into this hardware and let you connect an SD card or even an SSD, effectively giving you hard drive-like performance similar to using a hard drive in a fat model console. This is by far the hardest method to achieve, requiring advanced soldering skills, and the kit themselves can be a bit pricey. But in terms of speed and compatibility, it's the best option available. It's also worth noting that all of these methods work on a fat model PS2 as well and are not unique to the Slim, with the one exception being the soldering method, since the fat already comes with an expansion bay for IDE hard drive support. So those are the main ways to load games on a Slim model PS2. Each method has its pros and cons, but no matter your skill level or budget, there's definitely something here for everyone.
Now, super duper recently, a new modded dashboard came out called PSBBN, or PlayStation Broadband Navigator. And I was trying to figure out where it falls in place with all the rest of the modding scene, because I was kind of confused with what this is. Basically, 23 years ago, Sony released an exclusive operating system for people that owned a network adapter that let you access online pages, have access to a bunch of different video game channels, get news about the games you play, download game demos over the internet, rip CDs to your hard drive, import your photos. This was basically the foundation for what they wanted the PS3 to eventually be. It was exclusive to Japan, and it never made its way to anywhere else, which sucks because it's really, really cool. The fact that they were doing this in 2002 is crazy to me. Well, fast forward to today, a bunch of modders got together and translated the entire dashboard into English, restored most of the functionality, and added even more features to it. The bad news is, up until recently, you had to be comfortable with Linux and terminal commands to be able to install it. Oh, hell no. And it only worked with fat models with the original network adapters. It wasn't just as plug and play as plugging in a memory card and boom, you're done, you're jailbroken. I didn't feel right showing people all of this cool stuff and then being like, oh right, you have to use Linux to get all this. But this project is actively being developed, and literally as I was writing this video, they just released a Windows installer, which makes this whole process a lot easier. You still need to use some terminal commands, but at least you don't have to use scary Linux to get it working anymore. It's okay, you're safe here. There is so much to cover with PSBBN that it deserves its own video, honestly. But for beginners, I really do think that FreeMCBoot is the best starting point. It takes 2 seconds to get set up, gives you great insight into how the scene works, and it helps you get familiar with all the terms that you might see online. There is tons of history here and lots of stuff to play around with, and when you're ready, you can move up to the more advanced stuff with PSBBN. I'm gonna sound like a boomer here, I know, but using this system for the last month has really reminded me how simple and straightforward gaming used to be. Like, it feels like everyone's constantly asking you for $20. What happened? Why does every game need to have like a multi-year roadmap? Why does every game need you to constantly log in every single day, or else you're left behind and you have no idea what's going on in the game anymore? Like, the problem is even single player games do this now. And yet the PS2, my beloved, you buy the game, you play it, and that's it, you're off. And that's why seeing modders still working to preserve this system makes me so happy. They're essentially working to restore everything that made this console feel great to me. I won't lie, things are they're getting more expensive. All of the big 3 companies announced price hikes for the newest consoles, and I'll be honest, I only see this getting worse. But these things, they're less than $100 usually. Or your dad probably has one. Oh my God, your dad probably has one. Oh, dude, I'm getting old. Which also means it's never been a better time to grab these consoles and find cool ways to tinker with them and mod them. I promise, the PS2 is still here, and it's still worth your time. Okay, I'm getting all boomering over here, I'm sorry. A big thank you to TITO for helping out with this video. If you want more PS2 content, you should definitely check out his channel. He goes way more in depth with a lot of these different mods. And I really hope that you learned something from this. Honestly, the PS2 is my favorite console that I grew up with, and it really does hold a special place in my heart. Anyways, click over here to watch another video, and thank you for watching.